Hi everybody, welcome to Stashblaster Quilts. My name is Maria Spatelnik and I'm here to help you make more quilts in less time with less stress. So it has been crazy town around here lately, as I keep telling you. I forgot to turn on my lights, hold on. It seems like that's my normal. My normal is just completely insane, but that's okay. Over the last 2 weeks, I attended 2 conferences and taught a full day training. Today I spent at another conference, so it has been very little sewing time here at the Spatelnik household, but I have gotten some things done that I'm going to be talking to you about. Overall, though, I'm quite pleased with how things are going. I am a little bit behind where I wanted to be at this point, but it's only a little behind. Thankfully, I had gotten a lot of the things on my son's quilt done early, so yeah, I'm behind, but it's really not too bad. But anyway, so today, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about this quilt that I'm working on, update you on where I am in the process and the other things that I have going. And then our next visit will be the 1st, July 1st, 2026, depending on when you see this. It may be passed already. And I am going to be leaving the next day for yet another trip. And I've got several things over the next several months. So I'm going to be doing my best to be here the 1st and 3rd Wednesday as planned. If I can't be, then I'm going to try what I did last time, which is a shorter visit, but still on the correct date. I may move things up a day or two, depending on if I can flex things around, because not having to haul the computer and all that stuff with me does make life a little easier. But I will try to give you warnings and then maybe do a different date if possible. If not, then you'll miss me, and then we'll do it on the regularly scheduled dates after that. So anyway, there's been a lot of teaching. There's been a lot of learning. Today I attended a conference on Parkinson's disease, designed for caregivers, care managers, and other people that are professionals. I've attended several of these before with ANOVA's Parkinson's and Movement Disorders Center. I also do a monthly video course for them. It's a live class. I've taught many classes at this point. I think this month is like number 15 or 16, on all kinds of topics, from paperwork through safety. This next one is on tomorrow is on solo aging or partnered aging. And then next month, we've got somebody on for durable medical equipment. So I've got a whole bunch of topics, and every month I do something for them. So if you're interested, the IPMDC site is free. Anyone can take any of these classes. So you can sign up and take a class. If you wish to contribute to the cause, you're welcome to, but everything is free. So if you have Parkinson's or any sort of movement issues, neurological issues, or anything else, and you'd like some support, you do not have to be an ANOVA member to participate. So if you have Kaiser, if you have any of the other ones, you can still participate in the community. It helps a lot. There's Dr. Palderai. She talks about brain science. There's a nutritionist. There's all kinds of stuff. So if you'd like to pick up some additional classes that would help with something like Parkinson's, you are more than welcome to join. So like I said, tomorrow it's about solo aging or partnered aging, mostly about what happens when you go from partnered to solo. So that's what I'm doing tomorrow. But I actually have like a week and a half I'm not going anywhere other than clients. So it should I should be able to get a little bit more time in here. It has been few and far between I've been able to make it. So let me update you on where we are. I still have some small houses to build. I have my shoebox here, and in here I have a bunch of houses that are partially, well, they're cut out, but they haven't been sewn at all. They're not even partially sewn. And then on the wall behind me here, let me switch cameras, it might make it a little easier. So up here, I have some more houses that are made. And then here are the roofs that I've made. I haven't put any of the roofs on the buildings yet, but I have laid out my town. So this is what my town looks like. I don't know why this is not staying up where it's supposed to be. There we go. So this is what my town looks like. I didn't realize until earlier today, it kind of looks like a cat. But I'm okay with that. I'm going to have some things in these white spaces, like here and here. I'll have some trees or some playgrounds or things like that. The center space here is where the castle's going to go. And the castle represents the wedding day and the anniversary day. So I'm going to put those all together into one. So this is how we're doing. I have the top half, I have all the houses in place. The bottom half, I have 5 months left. And I just haven't gotten the houses that are made into position yet. But the idea is I want to get all of the houses there. And then I'll go ahead and put the roofs on. Because then I'll have the house numbers on the houses. And I'll know what's going on. I can take them down, attach the roofs, etc. I did realize because of my curved roads, every single house pretty much is going to need a little green strip at the bottom because, here, let me turn this so you can see me a little bit better. Because the curve is going to leave either ears sticking out or in the middle where I'll need to have the grass. So I'm going to have to add yet another strip pretty much to every single house, but that's okay. Once the houses are laid out in their final, then I'm going to paper piece them into the quilt top. So there's going to be a lot of odd shapes and things like that. So the paper piecing is pretty much the way to go. So that will be later on, but I'll be able to do this by sections, which will be nice. I'm not going to have to do all at once. I don't know if you can see the lines for the roads. No, probably you can't really. So like there's a road that comes around like this and then goes down. And then there's a little loop here. There's a big loop here that goes all the way back to the castle. There's a big open loop there. So all of these are going to be dark gray roads. And what I think I'm going to wind up doing is piecing it on one side and then appliquing it down to the other so that I can make sure that those curves are nice and smooth. I may have to applique both sides to have it look right. I'm hoping not, because with my hands not being as cooperative, it would take a lot longer. I have considered doing a hemming stitch on my machine or top stitching. The only way I would want to top stitch, though, is if I was setting it up more like with a flange to be like curbs, so that I could stitch in the ditch. But then there'd be all these floppy curves everywhere, so I don't think I'm going to do that. But it has gotten laid out, and interestingly enough, the temperatures are varied enough that I'm getting some really good combinations here in terms of distribution. But this is March, and we had 4 days in the 80s in March in 2025. Who knew, right? So I have orange all the way down to here. And I have most of my yellows in the middle because that's the 99s. But there is a nice distribution. There were only 2 days below 20. Lots of nights below 20. So there'll be a lot of white roofs, but only 2 houses that are white. Overall, I'm quite pleased with how this came out. I do have some plans for the 2 corners because both corners I left open on purpose. So in one, I'm going to have a Pokemon Center. Then in the other one, I'm going to have a travel agency with the town her parents live in because they went and visited there during the year, as well as a billboard for Anaheim because they also visited there. So what I'm planning on doing with that is designing a really fancy billboard, and then I'm going to have the charts on the back of the temperature and a whole bunch of other stuff that I'm going to do on Spoonflower. So I'll be able to go ahead and get that printed and then just applique the billboard down. It'll be a lot easier than if I tried to piece something. So I'm quite pleased with how this is looking. Let me see. I see a note here. Gemini June. So many and so tiny. Yeah, each house is going to finish at 2 inches, and there are 364 of them. And then the castle in the middle will be 12 inches. But it's going to have a moat. It's going to have a drawbridge. It has 3 towers and little flags. I mean, yeah, it's going to be highly detailed. And then, of course, I have to embroider on all of the Pokemon and all of the other stuff. So, excuse me. So it's going to be really detailed. I'm just hoping the kids like it, because if they don't, I will be crushed. We're talking several thousand hours here. If I will tell them if they don't like it, I will make them something else, but then I want this back, because this I would enter into a show, even though it's not going to be perfect. One of my comments is going to be, nobody's life is perfect, nobody's marriage is perfect. You do the best you can and you make it work. That's what I'm doing with this. But I already have hundreds of hours into this, and I still have quite a long ways to go. But I am happy with the layout. I think that it's coming along well. Most of the grays and browns will be towards the bottom, but surprisingly, 2025 was fairly warm. 2026 was fairly cold, but in chunks. So, even in here, let me take a look here. We had days in the 70s and 80s in March. We got up into the 50s in December. November got up into the 50s. Actually, that got up into the 60s. So, although there are quite a few black and gray and brown houses, which are the 20s and 30s, there's not that many, as much as I was expecting. So they're towards the bottom, but like I said, there's not that many of them, which is very cool. So what I have done is I laid out all of these Post-it notes, and they all have a date on them. So now I can put the houses by color onto that. So I made myself a little cheat sheet which says which color and then what the dates are, because each color is based on a 10-degree temperature difference. So like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. So then I could go and mark those slips of paper, and now I can then just take the houses and look for, if it says green or brown or gray, I can just go ahead and plop a house in there, and then try to make sure I don't have like all the dark blue houses together and all the light blue houses together, trying to mix them up a little bit. And I think that shows. There are some patches, like where all the yellows are, there's a lot of yellow, and it's a fairly bright yellow. I did try to get some that were a little more orangey or a little bit more browny, but most of the yellows are closer to the pure yellow. But that's okay. It was in the 90s, so I was happy that I could make it work. But because we never crusted, I was originally planning on having white as 100 degrees or higher, but because we only hit 99, which we did hit more than once, I then moved that down to under 20 degrees, because we would have had the additional 2 houses that would have been black or gray, just because we would have been below. So I'm good with that. Okay, I see some more notes here. Hold on. You're going to put their last initial on a flag in the castle. Actually, I'm going to put their first. So I'm going to have the first flag with my son's first initial, and then a heart in the middle, and then her initial on the right. Please say the name of that Parkinson site again, please. It's the Innova Parkinson's and Movement Disorders Center. IPMDC.org, I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure it's .org. It could be .com, but I think it's .org. But since I'm live here, I can do this. Okay. IPMDC.org. Oops. Need the G. I need to get my fingernails clipped. Yes, it's .org. IPMDC.org. And then if you go in there, you can go to Programs Online, and then you can scroll down, and I am Live a Simpler, Safer, Less Cluttered Life. And my name is there, Maria Spatelnik. So you can see what that is. It's normally on a regular day, but because of all the conferences I'm doing this year, sometimes they're shifting. So I should have done it earlier this month, but I was in Dallas. So I'm doing it tomorrow, and then we're doing the 16th of next month, and then hopefully we're going to be back on our regular schedule. But you can go on there, you can register, and then they'll make sure you have all the information. They do post the slides, but they do not record the sessions, because that way people can honestly ask questions and not have strangers that are not part of the group listen to their answers or get any information from them. So the sessions themselves are not recorded. That means that sometimes people want me to redo classes. I did a town hall in April, and they want more paperwork classes, and I've done like 3. But they were more specific. So I'm going to be potentially reprising some of those sessions again. But it's a very, very open and good community, and they ask a lot of questions, which is great. Okay, so thank you. Oh, you're more than welcome. All right, so anyway, I do speak. I don't know if any of you are interested in this. I'm going to tell you anyway. I do sometimes speak locally to things like the community centers and those sort of things. If you would like to hear about when I'm doing those kinds of things, you can email me. There's two ways to email me. I have not had this out in a long time, so I'm going to put this back out. Anything about this particular channel, you can email me at mail@stashblasterquilts.com. You can also email me at my company, which is mail@conquertheclutter.org. But either of those, if you shoot me an email at this, I can still transfer you over, and then we will send you email notices about when I'm speaking in places where the public is invited. So like these conferences I'm doing, the general public, it's not really appropriate for. I can, and sometimes will do, send to the people that are local to where that conference is, but I teach all over the country, and in fact, earlier this year, I spoke in England. So for a lot of that, you're not going to come to Austin, Texas to watch me talk about hoarding. And you wouldn't want to pay the several $100s of registration anyway. Excuse me. But if I'm teaching about downsizing at the local community center, you would of course be more than welcome. So if that's of interest, you can shoot me an email here, and then we'll flip it over to the correct email when we reply, so you have it. We'll also be posting more and more of this kind of stuff on my my other website. So I have a lot going on. Anyway, sorry. So that's the plan. I was telling you about this. I had originally done the math thinking that I would make the houses bigger, but then that didn't give me the flexibility on the curving because it has to fit a queen size bed. But also it doesn't give me the opportunity to embroider in more Pokemon or the trees or a swing set or anything just cutesy. And while I don't want to say that my son and his wife are not cutesy, they really are. They're a lot like my husband and I. Our friends used to say that we were just so sweet that diabetics keeled over for miles around. And they're the same way. I think that they will appreciate that extra effort of having like a tree swing or something like that, as well as all the embroidery. But they met because of Pokemon, which is why I've got like 40 of them planned for the top of this quilt. And I'm going to be embroidering Pokemon on the 4 sides in the borders. So there's going to be a lot of embroidery on this. I was originally going to do the castle in the middle, all embroidery, but when it went from 6 inches to 12 inches, I said, I can't do that much. Not without taking an extra year to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and use fabric for the main parts, but all the details, of course, will be embroidered on. And then on the doors, with the dates of anniversaries or birthdays in the family, I'm going to be doing something on the doors. Like for anniversaries, I'll do 2 gold linked rings. Birthdays, it might be a birthday hat or a birthday cake. I might add in like pumpkins or something spooky for Halloween. I have not made any of those choices yet. So actually, just out of curiosity, November. So Halloween, the house is green. That could be interesting. I might be able to do something witchy or something. But overall, those kind of embellishments, the additional stuff, that's going to happen when and if there's time at the end. Because I can always pop in a little extra something. Because all I need to do is, once it's all quilted, because I'm going to quilt, what I'll do is I'll quilt down the street and around each house, you know, including the roof. And so it'll be pretty much a continuous for large chunks of this. But that means that, like, if I wanted to, this is the wrong month, but let's imagine I wanted to put something here more Thanksgiving-like. I could just come up from the street seam and pop my knot, and then I could embroider a little something on there. So that kind of thing I can always add. It's going to be, what can I get done? Because I told them I wanted at least I asked them if they wanted a wedding quilt. They said yes. And I said, okay. I talked to them about a temperature quilt, and I explained what it was, and they thought that was cool. My son's a math nerd. So they liked that. And then they didn't want to know anything about it. They don't want any hints. I have to cover this if my son is helping me with my computer. He doesn't want any hints, any spoilers. So this is 100% a surprise. So that's why I'm worried about whether they're going to like it or not, because they haven't given me any input. But that's, I told them I was going to need at least a year after I finished collecting the data, which was this last February. And now it's already June. So I'm 4 months in, and I don't even have the top half pieced. So it's going to be tight, and I'm probably going to have to ask for more time, but I'm sure that they will understand and appreciate it. But I still want to get as close as I can. I do not want this to be a 5th anniversary gift. So what I may do is, even if I'm not done quilting it yet, I will get as much of the embroidery done and as much of the stitching done as I can, and I may just present them with the top and then explain what I'm doing for the rest of it for the quilting, because the quilting alone is going to take me a good chunk of time, and then it will give me some more time to add some more Pokemon and other embroideries onto it, and I'm sure that they'll appreciate that. But yeah, this is a pretty big project. And I do know that our goal for this year as our group project was the orphan block quilts. I have not forgotten. I promise you, we are going to get to some of those. I am behind, I know, but I have got to advance this some. But I am going to be doing some other sewing with you as the season goes on and the year goes on. If you have any questions, if you want to run some pictures past me and get some ideas from me, please, you are more than welcome to email me. This mail at stashblasterquilts.com. I should have had this up a lot more this year. I apologize, because this is something I used to have up every time, and I've just gotten out of the habit of having it there. I do so many teachings and things virtually as well that I kept moving it over to the side, and then I just forgot to move it back. So please forgive me for that. Anyway, that's what's going on with that. I talked about the orphan block quilt. We just had quilt camp. So I said the last 2 weeks I've been busy. So I drove to Abingdon, Virginia, which is, Virginia is basically a triangle. It's fat on the coast and it goes down as a right triangle to where it joins West Virginia. And I'm not sure if it's just North Carolina or what other states there are, honestly, because I was so tired. By the time I was doing this stuff, I didn't pay attention. But it's like almost exactly at the point. It's only like half an hour from getting into any other state. And I'm in the upper right corner. So we drove down. I drove down. Scott did not come with me. And then I did a training there. And then I drove partway. I went and did my quilt guild, and then I had some appointments, and then I drove partway. Finished the drive the next day, trained the day after that, left after the training and drove partway home, and then I drove the rest of the way home. And so I got home on Friday, and then I had we play games and stuff with the kids every Friday. So then I had Saturday to get caught up on laundry and repack because Dark 100 Sunday I was on the plane to Dallas. So while I was in Dallas, I designed the castle. I made some final revisions. I still need to blow it up to size, and then make sure it's what I want. But the plan is to have the castle and then put the drawbridge and then the moat. And so the moat will be partially visible on the sides and then in the front. I'm not doing a 3D castle. I'm just doing a straight on because it's so complex as it already is that I'm just going to have to wing it. But that will mean some more grassland around it. It'll mean the river will have to get done. There's the outer wall, then there's the 3 towers, and then there's, of course, the tower tops, which will be orange and pink because that's their 2 favorite colors. So that's that. I've been designing. I kept refining it down, and now I've got my basic sizes down, which is good. And so I did all that. Thank you. You forgot about the orphan blocks. See, so did I, to mention it last time. So I got back. When did I get back? I left on Sunday. I got back Thursday, and I was in this plane going from Dallas to Atlanta, where I was supposed to have a 3-hour and 5-minute layover and then go from Atlanta back up here to Northern Virginia. We sat on the plane for so long, I barely made my connection in Atlanta. Apparently, some maintenance guy never signed off on the paperwork that he had done his inspection, so it was illegal to fly the plane. The only way they would let us off the plane is if we weren't coming back on, if we had rebooked something else somewhere else, somehow else. So we sat on the plane for hours and hours and hours. I do use a wheelchair service in the airports because while I can walk a relatively okay distance, I cannot do an airport. It's too far for me. So thank God, because I had this young gal and she was sprinting through the airport because, of course, I come in at the very last place in Concourse D, and we had to go up into the hub and then back down into Concourse C to get me on the plane. And not the last very back part of the plane was boarding, but the section before that was what was boarding. I had originally planned with a 3-hour layover. I was like, I'm going to be able to get my lunch because neither flight had food other than snacks. So it was just like, you've got to be kidding me. So I ate a lot of snacks on the plane. But I got in there. I just made it in time. And then flew up to Dulles, and then Scott picked me up there. So it did all work, but boy, it was tight. I'm just glad that they changed my original flight, which was 8-something, to the 6-something, leaving out of Dallas, because if it had been 8 o'clock, there's no way. I was only supposed to have an hour layover. I don't know when I would have gotten home. So I did get lucky as far as that's concerned. Because trying to find more flights was really tough for people. So I got home. That was Thursday night. And then yesterday, I was getting caught up on clients. I had to see some clients. And then today, I had another conference. So, I mean, no, I got in last Sunday. Sorry. Then Monday, I had a full day training that I did. And then yesterday is Tuesday. I had clients all day, and then today I had a conference. So it's just been boom, 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 either all day locally or traveling and conventions. So I'm pretty much done, and I don't have anything major. I have the class tomorrow, which is only an hour. It's not a big deal. And then I don't have anything until the 1st. So I leave on the 2nd. So that's cool. I've got like 2 weeks to get caught up with all my clients, and to get prepped for the next few things that I have. I don't know why this year is so busy. This is so busy, but that's okay. It's okay. I like being busy. I like having lots and lots of people that I get to talk to and teach. Oh, some of you may be new. I'm sorry. The teaching I'm doing is not quilting. I do teach quilting classes. I have a sewing room organization class, and I do workshops and all of that. But aside from quilting, my everyday job is as a professional organizer. So I go into people's houses and I help them get organized. When I'm teaching, though, on the topic, I'm usually teaching about hoarding and being extremely cluttered, or hoarding task forces, or those kinds of things. I do have a new communications class that's going really well that's not related to hoarding, but that's mostly what they want me to teach them about. So that's a little bit different than the normal kind of thing. And it's definitely not quilt related. So I didn't want you to think I was out going like guild to guild to guild. These are international conferences, and I'm talking about something other than hoarding. My husband does say, though, that as a quilter, you are automatically hoarding given the amount of fabric that we wind up with in our stash. And I basically said to him, you know the definition, you know that that's not true, and to you. So I'm so genteel. But overall, that's what's been going on. So yes, it's been every day or every other day. So it is my hope that in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be able to get my castle laid out so I can start appliquing it down and doing some of the embroidery while I'm on the next trip. Because, again, that is the whole center of the quilt. So, whole center, it's only a 12-inch circle, but still, it is the big part in terms of detail and all of that on the quilt. So, I would really like to be able to get that locked down. And then all of the roads will come off of that. If you're new, you also probably don't know on this quilt. There's a lot about this quilt. I'm sorry. I'm actually going to put the street names on the streets as well. I'm going to embroider that on. And all of the street names are something related to a happy marriage. So things like Tolerance Terrace, Lover's Lane, Friendship Street, those kinds of things. All those things that make a marriage work. One of my quilting buddies said there should be a street that says "No one to shut up, Av." I'm not going to do that, but that is actually a valid idea. But overall, I think that this is going to go well. But like I said, it's going to take me a while, so I'm going to try to do in 2 weeks, take it with me and do whatever I can in the evenings. I'm going to be busy all day, every day. And then there's, of course, the drive time and things like that. So it's going to be packed, but if I can get anything done with it, that's all to the good. And then I'll be able to start finishing the houses I still need and starting to piece the whole thing together. So fingers crossed. I have also dumbly decided to accept the nomination to be the president of my Quilt Guild chapter this coming year. And there's a lot more to it than I was led to believe, but I will be fine. But we're talking about doing a whole bunch of other stuff there. So, of course, now I'm involved in all of that. So I've been the nominating chair for a different chapter before. And I've been on boards of directors, and I've done, all this kind of other thing before, but this is a little bit different. So I'm hoping that it goes well. I think I may try to pre-write some of the president's notes kind of things so that if I get crushed again, like I will later on in the year, I can be a little bit ahead of the curve. I'm going to Austin, Orlando, Toronto, I forget where the other places are right now. I could look them up, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to be traveling quite a bit. One thing that I used to try to do is find quilt guilds where I was traveling for these other kinds of speeches and see if I could give speeches there. But we've just been so packed this year that that's not going to happen. But hopefully in the future, I will join something like the Global Quilt Connection or something like that, and I'll get to do more quilting related travel. Because that's a lot of fun. That's a lot more relaxing than hanging out with cops and talking about, you know, crime scenes and things like that, which is what I spent a lot of time doing at these conventions. Learning how the police work all over the world, best practices, and then the social workers and the co-responders and, you know, all the rest of that kind of thing. It's good to know. For example, here in Fairfax County, Virginia, we have a CIT program, which is a crisis intervention teams. And the goal there is when there's a mental health problem or something like that, to not just automatically haul people to jail or to the hospital, but getting them the help that they actually need. And so there's additional training they have to get in order to be certified, and then they have to maintain. And so here in Fairfax County, you can actually request a CIT trained officer. You can't always, they can't guarantee that they'll have one for you, but you can request it, which is a de-escalation from what we see on the news, where the first thing they do is either shoot you or take you to the ground or haul you off to jail in handcuffs without listening to anything. So I do really appreciate that. But yeah, I thought that was really nice to find out. But I spent a lot of time talking to cops and EMTs and social workers and adult protective and child protective. And when you're sitting around talking, everybody tells you all their stories. And a lot of the stories are very depressing. Quilters, when they have a story of something going bad, it's often funny. You can feel bad that they have to rip the whole thing out or whatever, but it's other than the occasional pinprick kind of blood, this is not a bloody activity. This is not something where people are permanently disfigured. You know, so it's a much more relaxing environment to attend classes and to teach in. Judy's late. She'll catch up. Of course she will. Anyway, Judy, all you missed was talking about the quilt. And I've been going on about it for more than half of an hour because I'm so happy that I'm getting it actually up on the wall. And it's probably more than some of you wanted to hear, and I apologize for that. I've also been talking about my trips, so that's it. Judy is in one of my quilt guilds, where I got back from Dallas on Thursday, and Friday I went to quilt camp. And so I did get to be able to see my friends there. And I got inundated with people, so related to the presidency thing. So that was interesting. Like I was saying, there was more to it than I thought. But I got to see, you know, people finish some quilts, which was very nice because it was the third day of 3. So people who started the quilt on Wednesday finished on Friday, so they would, you know, hold it up and everybody would ooh and ah, and we had a great time. And so one of the things that we're talking about is we used to only have quilt camp in February, and we had a whole roster of programs that our members would teach. And then I think it was like 3 years ago, I was kind of like poking and I was saying, you know, could we do something like that in the summer, but maybe not as much instruction, just like get together and sew. And people liked that idea. So we started summer quilt camp. and it's packed. We can't take everybody that's in our guild that wants to attend, which is nice. But now we're talking about, okay, we have 2 retreats a year, so they're at relatively expensive places, and there's a lot of people that are on a budget. So we were talking about, okay, could we add a 3rd less expensive retreat? We're looking into that. We're also looking into maybe making Quilt Camp quarterly, which would add 2 more to the to the roster. But it's really nice because the bingo hall we're in, if we do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we can leave our machines set up. So we can be there from like 9:30 until like 3 or 4, pretty much every day. And we arrange for food. And of course, people bring snacks. I mean, any kind of a retreat, people bring tons and tons of snacks. So it's really nice to be able to just leave your project midway and then come back the next day and it's still there ready to go, versus if we had to take our machines home every night. We used to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but Tuesday night's bingo, so we would have to set the whole place back up to normal and then haul the machines out, and then the next day put it back into our pod shapes, which is the most efficient for how many sewers we have. So now that we switched it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it is much more efficient, and we don't have to take the machines home. So it's like $10 a day when we do Quilt Camp. We may have to raise it to $12, but that's still dirt cheap. So some of our elder members who are on a budget and can't afford to go on retreat, or the ones who still have kids at home or in college, and don't want to spend several $100s several times a year, this will make for a nice option for them if we do more quilt camps. So that's something that we may wind up doing as well if we get enough people interested in it. But even doing a regular quilt camp, a regular retreat, with the idea of it being less expensive will help. Because several people have said that they would attend if they could, but given the price tag, they can't. So we're going to try to be a little bit more budget conscious because everything is costing so much more. Gas, food, everything is costing so much more these days. And a lot of it's driven by the gas, because in order to get the food to market, they're spending more on haulers, and all of the different stages along the way, they have to be paying for their gas and power and all that at higher rates, so it all gets passed along. So I'm glad that we're looking into this, and we'll see how it goes. But I like the idea of the quilt camp, but then I have to find people to run it, because as president, I get to do all of this additional stuff. So you guys are going to hear the saga of this as we go. You'll probably know more about running a guild by the time I'm done with this than I knew when I walked into it. But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, it is 1/4 of. So I mentioned before, I have some of these houses already cut out, but I wanted to wait until the end so that I only have to sew the houses I need now to finish the quilt. But all of the extras that are on the wall that I don't need, or that are in the box that I haven't sewn yet, I'll be able to sew and put on the back, or make into pillow shams, or do something else with them. They're not going to go to waste, but they don't necessarily have to be part of the main quilt. So that's why I haven't done all of them yet, but I have done most of them. There's probably only going to be about 15, maybe 20 at most I'm going to have to sew. So that'll make life a lot easier, and I'll be so much closer. For some reason, I didn't sew a lot of the blues in advance. I am almost out of blue. But I think I have enough of the black and the browns and some of the others that, like I said, it shouldn't be that many houses in order to finish this. And then we start with the strip in the front, and then start piecing it all together. So I'm very happy about this. Question, because somebody was mentioning the fact that this should be a pattern. Somebody else mentioned it should be a book. I should be taking pictures of all of these stages so that someone else could do this. I don't know who else is crazy enough to do this. But if you think there would be interest in a book detailing this quilt, how I made the whole story behind how I did it, how, the patterns for the houses and all the other little things, how I'm doing the paper piecing, how I'm doing all of the rest of it. If you think that you or other people you know would be interested in such a book, would you please send me an email? Or if you want to do it now, if you want to put it in the chat, because that's going to take a bunch of time, but I should start doing the photography like now. For this part, I wasn't going to, but I could take a picture showing, once the houses are kind of placed, but then what I did with the Post-its and all of that. If you think it would be worthwhile, let me know. The worst that would happen is I would take all the photos and do the prep and then not actually make a book. I do not see this as a pattern specifically, because I don't know with the paper piecing if it's something that people would want it like this. So I'm adding a lot of stuff specifically for my son and his wife, so I don't know if that would work. It might. Let me know what you think. But I am kind of curious. Let's see, I saw something pop up. It might be a cute idea for the wedding couples way to see the progress of the club. Well, no, that's true. That's true. Maybe I should. Well, I'm taking some photos along the way anyway, but I could be more detailed about it. Okay. Good point. Thank you. All right. So, at this point, I would have to set my sewing machine up to do any sewing tonight because I've been teaching all day. So I don't think I'm going to. I think we're going to end a little early today. But we'll be back in 2 weeks. I am hoping at that point, let me switch the cameras again, that I will have finished putting the houses on all of this bottom part that the house is already made for. There will still be some of these that I don't have the houses sewn for yet, but I'm hoping not too many. And just so you know, the different colors of Post-its are the different months. So like this white one here is February, which is going to be short a day because the wedding day and the anniversary day are turning into the castle, right? So it's short a day. And it's a short month. But like the pink there, that's January. The orange here is March. But I want to make sure by the time I'm back on, I'm going to do my very best to have all of that on there. I still have to do all the things that I need to send off to Spoonflower, but I think that this should be kind of cool at that point, and you'll be able to see kind of how the color flow is going to be. And then I'll start putting on all the roofs, and we'll see how that goes. Okay? So that's a good idea to talk about. I'm talking about provenance. Yeah. I will say that it would be tough for somebody to claim that this quilt was mine, was theirs, after I have all of the pictures and I have it on YouTube for the last year and change, because you guys have been here while I've been doing the whole concept here the whole time. I don't think anybody will be able to steal it and claim that it's theirs at this point. So I at least have that. But yeah, I think that yeah, I like the idea of doing it for the kids so that they have the kind of like a booklet. I mean, I wouldn't get it published unless you think people would be interested in it. But for the kids, I can see maybe having a little booklet made up of the story of their quilt. That might be fun. I like that. So, okay. I will add that to my list. But yeah, so next time, hopefully all the houses will be up, and I'll have started to match up some roofs, but I'm not promising that. And I'm hoping to have the castle ready to be worked on my trip. And then each 2 weeks after that, hopefully you're going to be seeing more progress in general on the whole thing. Some may just be finishing those houses, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. But then I'm gonna have to start cutting this apart on the roads so that I can mark where the houses are going to have to be in order for the road to go properly. And then what I'll do is I will be paper piecing it in the chunks around the roads. So I've never designed something paper pieced of this size. I have done some blocks, but this is a queen size block basically at this point. So I want to do it in the chunks, and then what I'll do is lay them out, and then I'll put the roads on so that all of the chunks fit properly. But my road is an inch wide, so that does give me some play. And instead of cutting it 1.5 inches, I'll probably cut it like an extra 1/8 wider. So if I have to like scooch it a little bit and then bring it back a little bit, I can do that. Because as you know, no street is exactly the same size all the way. So luckily, I have that ability to make those alterations and make it fit. I did add 2 inches in both directions because of the quilting. I did talk to a handy quilter instructor that's part of my SQU guild, Diane Henry, and I asked her if she thought that 2 inches was going to be enough, and she said that she thought that would be pretty good based on what I told her I was going to do in terms of the quilting. And so this should lie pretty close to right where I want it to on the top of the queen size bed. I did leave the foot at the top for pillows, and that's going to be the border, and I'm going to do a 1-foot border on the other 3 sides as well. So if they decided to hang it, and this thing will be a monster when it's hanging. It's going to be full floor to ceiling, so I doubt they're going to hang it. But if they were to, then the Pokemon would just go all the way around, and it would have a 4-sided border instead of just 2. So I think that that's going to work. But I was thinking that if I went less than 1 foot, that would it would either the pillows would overflow onto the buildings, or if they put it over the top, it would get weird. So that's why I'm doing the 1 foot. But I think it's cool. So, all right, we're going to end a little bit earlier today. Thank you so much. Please feel free to email me, mail@stashblasterquilts.com, and let me know what you think about the book. Let me know if you have any questions about anything, if you want to be added to my list for speaking events. If you want that, I do need to know what your zip code is, because if you happen to be, I know that there's some people here like in Georgia, so if I'm speaking in Atlanta or whatever, and if that happens to be fairly close on something, then I can let them know. But I'm assuming most of you are in the Northern Virginia area, because most of you have probably heard about it through my guild's chapters. So you'll have a little bit more easy access to some of these things, but I'm happy to share. So have a wonderful 2 weeks. We'll be back on July 1st. That is the first Wednesday of the month. 1st and 3rd, as often as I can do it. All right. So take care, everybody, and I hope you have a great night and a great couple